Despite how much our economy has changed, we were still operating on a tax structure designed in 1986. But last year, House and Senate Republicans came together, inspired by President Donald Trump, to make the tax code more fair, more simple, and less burdensome for the middle class, which then, of course, yields to the increase in the stock market, which benefits all Americans. I am grateful that families all across America today are already seeing the direct benefits of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, with the leadership of our Chairman of Ways and Means, Kevin Brady, the extraordinary service of Speaker Paul Ryan, our leader, Kevin McCarthy, our conference chair, Kathy McMorris Rogers, and also our secretary of the conference, Virginia Foxx of North Carolina. The jobs have been created in such a remarkable way that African American unemployment is the lowest level since the Bureau of Labor Statistics started tracking it in 1972. The Hispanic unemployment is the lowest it's ever been recorded. The level of unemployment for American women is at the lowest rate in over 20 years. And 14 states, it was reported today, have also recorded record low unemployment due to new jobs by reducing regulations and taxes, a positive agenda. We're here today to highlight stories from across North Carolina and South Carolina of everyday families and small business owners getting to keep more of their own hard-earned income. I would like first to yield to my good friend, Congressman Ralph Norman, who represents the 5th District of South Carolina. Congressman Norman was just elected in a special election last year, but already he has been here to make a difference on behalf of the people of South Carolina and the United States. With his background as a real estate developer, he is proven, he and his wife Elaine, on how to build a business and create jobs. Congressman Ralph Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to tell you that the Tax Cut and Job Act is working. It's working in South Carolina's 5th Congressional District and is working across the country. It is working for individuals and families who are seeing more money in their paychecks each month, and it is working for the companies who are investing the savings from tax reform into their employees. Over the past few weeks, I have spoken with and visited the businesses in South Carolina that are putting these savings right back into their local communities. Early this month, LPL Financial announced that they will be investing these savings into their employees by increasing its 401k match to 75% and reducing the time for new hires to qualify for this match by 6 months. As Congressman Wilson said, this personally touches 2,000 constituents in the 5th District of South Carolina. That is 2,000 more families that now have a greater opportunity to save and see the light of a brighter future ahead. Mr. Speaker, just today I visited a UPS store in Gaffney, South Carolina. Because of tax reform, UPS has announced over $12 billion in investments and an increase in pension funding. During my UPS visit, I put on a uniform and assisted a delivery driver during a ride. I heard directly from the hardworking employees about how this news will impact them and all of their loved ones. I don't think I speak just for myself when I say that we want jobs to come and stay in America. We want businesses to expand and hire people in our communities. By reducing tax rates and simplifying the tax code, we are allowing companies to make these investments in their employees, in their communities, and in growing their businesses. I look forward to continued opportunities to learn, see, and talk about the success of this tax reform. We promise fairer taxes, higher wages, and more jobs. And as Congressman Wilson says, we have delivered. I yield back.
Thank you, Congressman Ralph Norman, and I want to thank you for your citation about UPS. I've had the same honor to put on the brown uniform to deliver packages, and I found out something. The UPS employees, also FedEx, DHL, the others, are remarkable people delivering American-made products to the American people. What wonderful companies these are, and what wonderful employees they are. Now I'd like to go over some of the specific positive changes to our tax code that occurred under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. An average middle-class family in South Carolina will save $2,311 thanks to the tax cuts. The child tax credit was doubled, and I want to give a lot of credit. The reason it was doubled was the great work of our U.S. Senator Tim Scott, working with Ivanka Trump Kushner. This was their effort to work to make this child-friendly, family-friendly, looking out particularly for persons who are single-parent households. And so the child tax credit was doubled from $1,000 to $2,000, making it easier for single mothers and new families to provide for their children. The bill also removed the mandate that required you to buy health care or pay a penalty. So now people aren't penalized by the government for not being able to afford health care and health insurance. The standard deduction doubled to $24,000 for married couples filing jointly. This makes it simpler for couples to file their taxes because they will use the standard deduction and won't have to itemize their return. Corporations who employ people, they create jobs, so their tax cuts drop from 35% to 21%. Time and time again, I've heard from business owners who plan to use their extra income to reinvest in the company, create jobs, provide bonuses, and raise wages. When taxes are low, businesses thrive, and jobs are created in the Reagan tradition. I am grateful for the leadership of Speaker Paul Ryan, House and Ways and Means Committee Chairman Kevin Brady, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with them, in addition to President Donald Trump, to deliver meaningful tax relief to the American people. They deserve it. Local success of the law, to me, was first heralded in the 2nd Congressional District of South Carolina, the central part of South Carolina, by Lou and Bill Kennedy of Nephron Pharmaceuticals in Casey, announcing 125 new jobs and a 5% pay increase. They said that they made this decision as a direct result of the tax bill. In fact, I'm really grateful that Lou put together a barbecue where I was present with Governor Henry McMaster, Attorney General Alan Wilson, and she made the announcement right there at the barbecue to the extraordinary employees of Nephron Pharmaceuticals. They may have been the first, but they were certainly not the last. Something that I was so grateful. I was going through Walgreens to pick up some pictures that I was having developed, and I ran into Bill Mooneyhan. Bill is the president of the local Casey West Columbia Chamber of Commerce, and he came up and announced, hey, Joe, because of the tax savings, our business, our auto repair shop, is going to add a new bay, create new jobs. And I said, hey, Bill, because you announced this to me, you have just volunteered for a press conference, which I'm really grateful that we were able to have with the National Federation of Independent Business, NFIB, led by Ben Homeyer in South Carolina. NFIB is the largest small business organization in America, and it's bottoms up. The leadership really follows the directions of their local members, so all of us truly appreciate NFIB. In February, I visited with Norman Dunnigan, owner of Whiskey Alley Restaurant and Dumpster Depot, which is a recycling facility, both in Aiken, South Carolina. I took this opportunity to congratulate him on his expansion resulting from the Tax Cuts and Job Act. He opened a third business last year due to the confidence in President Donald Trump and the House Republican leadership. All three of his small businesses are thriving and providing much-needed new jobs. That day, I also met with Clancy Kipkala, President and CEO of Solara Energy Hospitality of West Columbia. Solara Hospitality is providing bonuses for their hotel hourly associates due to the tax cuts passed by the Republicans. In Orangeburg, South Carolina, South Bank provided a $1,000 bonus to their employees. In a rural area like Orangeburg, a $1,000 bonus can make a huge difference for families. It can provide an opportunity for families to buy extra school supplies, pay down debt, make an investment in the future, start or add to an emergency fund, or take a much-needed family vacation. Now I'd like to yield to this distinguished Congressman, Robert Pittenger, who represents the beautiful 9th District of North Carolina, which includes substantially the extraordinary city of Charlotte, which is such a center for job creation of the Carolinas. Congressman Pittenger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chairman Wilson, thank you for your leadership and for providing this opportunity tonight for us to highlight the significance and the importance of this tax bill for the American people. You know, Mr. Speaker, when I lived in Washington, D.C. in 1980, it came out of the the malaise of an economy that wasn't growing, no jobs, no opportunity. And Ronald Reagan had a vision for a different America, and I worked hard on this campaign. And he changed the whole structure of our tax code and reduced regulations that moved this economy forward. Unprecedented growth in jobs, 18 million jobs came out of that economy. And that's what this vision of President Trump and this Congress is about today. Who would have thought a year ago, just a year ago, that America would be experiencing what it is today? Companies like Apple reinvesting $350 billion, ExxonMobil, $50 billion. You have unemployment has plummeted to a 49-year low. U.S. manufacturing is expanding at the fastest rate in 14 years, and consumer confidence at a 17-year high. Wages are up. Opportunities are up. I had a gentleman come to me just this last week who owns 2 restaurants in Charlotte. He said, "Thank you for your tax cut. I'm now going to expand and build another restaurant out at the lake. And I can do that because I've got the capital to go reinvest." You know, we have constrained this economy because and the American people, by these burdensome tax rates that are not competitive. Companies have been going to the rest of the world, Ireland, UK, Germany, and leaving America because we weren't competitive with our tax code. Now they're coming back. Now companies in America are expanding. Or you take just an individual. I had a lady at a gas station the other day, and I was getting my gas, and she was pumping her gas, and she looked at me and she said, "Are you Congressman Pittenger?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Thank you." She said, "You know, I'm a single mom. I've got the little baby in the back seat, and what you've done for me is give me another $150 a month. And I really can't tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing." 82% of the American people are going to get a pay raise. They're getting it right now. And that's the difference. You know, the proof is in the paycheck. Americans know that, regardless of what the left says, the media says, or anyone else. The reality is there that jobs are expanding, paychecks are going up, people are getting bonuses. In Charlotte alone, we have Bank of America giving out bonuses. We have Charlotte Pipe and Foundry, Steel Fab, American Airlines, so many. 500 companies in this country have given out bonuses to their folks, and probably so many more we don't know about. So I want to commend you for your leadership, Chairman Wilson. Thank you for making sure that the American people know what is yet to come. We've just scratched the surface on the opportunity and the growth, the jobs that will be there for the American people. Thank you, and I yield back.
And thank you very much, Congressman Robert Pittenger. And the points you make of where people can look at their paycheck and see they're keeping more of their own money. This is not from the government. This is their own money, and how important this is, and how it enables families to have a better life, and for the young people of our country, how positive this is. So thank you for reiterating that point. The Business Roundtable, an association of America's largest employers, is reporting that tax reform has already produced wage increases, bonuses, increased matches for retirement savings, lower prices for consumers, investment in facilities, and tens of thousands of new American jobs as a direct result of tax reform. As I indicated, we have the lowest unemployment among African Americans ever. We have the lowest unemployment among Hispanics since it's ever been determined. And it's so exciting. 14 states have the lowest level of unemployment in recorded history. And then among women, we have the lowest level of unemployment in 20 years. Everybody benefits from the tax cuts. This is so positive. The Business Roundtable members alone have provided over $545 million in bonuses to their employees, with bonuses, wage increases, and a range of other employee benefits to 1.6 million workers, along with $1.2 billion in charitable contributions. And according to the Tax Foundation, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act will significantly lower marginal tax rates and the cost of capital, which would lead to a 1.7% increase in the gross domestic product over the long term, 1.5% higher wages, and an additional 339,000 full-time equivalent jobs. They also say it will spur an additional $1 trillion in federal revenue from economic growth, with approximately $600 billion coming from the bill's permanent provisions and approximately $400 billion from the bill's temporary provisions over the budget window. Now I have the honor to yield to Chairwoman Virginia Foxx, who represents the 5th District of North Carolina. Congressman Foxx is Secretary of the Republican Conference. She is a remarkably determined former community college president, and she also is very much appreciated as the chairman of the Education Workforce Committee. And then she's particularly fortunate. She lives and has a beautiful home in Grandfather Mountain, North Carolina, some of the most beautiful mountains in the world of western North Carolina. Congresswoman Foxx.
Thank you, Congressman Wilson, for leading this special order on the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. And I will agree with you. The Lord has blessed me with living in one of the most beautiful places in the world, the 5th District of North Carolina, and I am very, very grateful for it. You know, last week, Tax Day was for once an occasion to celebrate, because this was the last time Americans filed under the broken 32-year-old tax code. Next tax season, they'll file under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed by this Congress last December. Across the 5th District of North Carolina, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act has already relieved North Carolinians who are cashing bigger paychecks and benefiting from the country's lowest unemployment rate since 2000. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, North Carolina added 9,000 jobs this February alone. And thanks to lower rates for individuals and small businesses under the new code, North Carolinians are keeping more of their hard-earned money. And as you point out, Congressman Wilson, it's their money, not the government's money. This year, married couples in the 5th District who take the new standard deduction could receive a tax cut to the tune of $1,834. For the over 52,000 taxpayers of the 5th District who have small business income, these tax savings are not crumbs, as my colleagues on the other side of the aisle falsely assert. A restaurant owner in Mount Airy recently told me that allowing immediate capital expensing under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act empowered her to purchase a new $20,000 piece of equipment for her business. You spoke of the Business Roundtable. The Business Roundtable reports that 68% of business leaders similarly expect their capital spending in the next 6 months to be at its highest in 15 years. This increased purchasing power for the backbone of our economy is evidence that pro-growth tax cuts work. Continued growth is also expected by the Budget Office. The CBO estimates for every 0.1% increase in GDP, nearly $270 billion is added to revenue over 10 years. After years of malaise under the Obama administration, even modest increases in GDP growth caused by the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act will substantially contribute to a leveling off of the deficit. And for the first time since 2008, the CBO's Budget and Economic Outlook revises upward economic potential for 2018. Under current conditions, it notes that 3.5% growth is possible. In further good news, 5th District businesses share this optimism and are investing more in their employees and communities. Just last week, as part of its initiative to invest in community health with its tax savings, Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina gave $1 million to Winston-Salem State University's nursing school. North Carolina is projected to have the second largest nurse shortage in the nation. This investment will develop the 5th District's medical workforce and increase access to high-quality health care, especially in rural areas. This is just one of the many examples that illustrates how philanthropy is fostered and communities are developed when the government scales back. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased that House Republicans kept our promise to bring about more jobs, fair taxes, and bigger paychecks for hardworking Americans. But I'm more proud of the hardworking men and women in the 5th District who are seizing the opportunities unleashed by the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act to create wealth and serve their communities. Again, Congressman Wilson, I thank you for your leadership on this special order and for allowing us to correct the record that's been distorted about this bill and bring to the American people the facts about this wonderful Tax Cut and Jobs Act. And I yield back to you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Virginia Foxx, and thank you as an educator for educating the American people and bringing to the attention of the American people the real facts of the benefits of the tax cuts. Congress today appreciates that Americans should keep their hard-earned tax dollars, and it is shocking to hear that the other side of the aisle say that they would repeal the tax cuts if they get a majority in the House come November, resulting in tax increases on American families, destroying jobs. Sadly, I suspect a lot of families and businesses being highlighted today will be shocked, or maybe not so shocked, to hear that Democrats are campaigning on raising taxes, destroying jobs. I sincerely hope that Americans across the country know that Republicans will continue to do all that we can to our ability to increase take-home pay to families, reduce the tax burdens on seniors, and create more efficient and effective government that works for you and provides opportunities for the young people of America. I now ask for unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material on the topic of this special order. Thank you, and I yield back.
Without objection.